Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the hidden messages in corporate filings that might just tell us how the company is really doing. And let me tell you, this latest filing from Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated is a bit of a mixed bag, with some interesting votes and results from their shareholder meeting. Before we dive in, if you love getting the real story behind company reports like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And hey, we've got a fantastic community over on our Discord server, linked in the description below, where we chat about these filings and more. So what is this document all about? It is a current report filed because something important happened. And in this case, it's about a meeting of the shareholders of Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated. This is where the big decisions are made, or at least where shareholders get to weigh in. It all went down on the 12th of December 2025. The date of the report itself is the 17th of December 2025, but the main event, the shareholder meeting, happened a few days earlier on the 12th of December. Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated is the company we're looking at. They're incorporated in Delaware, which is pretty common for publicly traded companies, and their ticker symbol is NEUP on the Nasdaq. This report is filed because the company believes shareholders voted on some important matters, and they need to let everyone know the results. The core of this report is about what happened at the annual meeting of shareholders. Think of it as the company's yearly checkup with its owners. They presented 4 key proposals, and we get to see how the shareholders voted on each one. First, let's talk about who showed up to vote. Out of all the shares available, about 39.76% were represented at the meeting. That means a little less than half of the voting power was actually exercised. In the world of corporate governance, this is something to watch. A lower turnout can sometimes mean less engagement from shareholders. Or it could just mean that a lot of shareholders are comfortable letting management handle things. Now, let's get to the actual proposals that were voted on. Proposal 1 was all about electing 2 directors to the board for a 3-year term. This is crucial because directors are responsible for overseeing the company's strategy and management. Here is where it gets interesting. We see 2 nominees listed as Peter Miles Davies and David Wilson. They received a significant number of 4 votes, indicating strong support from shareholders. However, there were also 2 other nominees, Stephen Doberstein and Kimberly Smith. Looking at the numbers, they received a very small number of 4 votes and a huge number of withheld votes. This suggests a clear preference from the majority of shareholders for Peter Miles Davies and David Wilson. It is like saying, we want these 2, not the others. This signals a strong mandate for the chosen directors. Next up, Proposal 2. This was about ratifying the appointment of their auditor, Wolf & Company PC, for the fiscal year ending the 30th of June 2026. Appointing an independent auditor is a standard and important step to ensure the company's financial statements are accurate and reliable. The vast majority, 807,022 votes, were cast for this proposal. This indicates a strong sense of trust in the chosen accounting firm. Only 96,245 voted against and 34,180 abstained. When the auditor gets such overwhelming approval, it generally signals that shareholders are comfortable with the oversight of the company's finances. Proposal 3 is what is often called a say on pay vote. It's where shareholders get to vote on whether they approve of how much the top executives are being paid. It is called advisory because the board doesn't have to follow the vote, but it is a really important signal of shareholder sentiment. Here, we see 726,184 for votes, which is a good number, but there were also 154,109 against votes. While more people voted for it, a significant portion of shareholders expressed disapproval of the executive compensation. This is a red flag for the board. It suggests that while they might be happy with the company's performance generally, they're not entirely comfortable with the pay packages being offered to the top brass. In simpler terms, shareholders are saying, we like what you are doing, but maybe you are getting paid a bit too much for it. Finally, Proposal 4. This one asks shareholders how often they want to vote on executive compensation. Should it be every year, every 2 years, or every 3 years? It looks like the shareholders had a pretty clear preference here. A significant 585,857 votes were cast for holding this advisory vote every 3 years. This is a bit surprising given the against votes in Proposal 3. Usually, if shareholders are concerned about compensation, they want to have their say more often. Not less, this result might be interpreted in a few ways. Perhaps shareholders believe the current compensation structure is acceptable for now, or maybe they feel a triennial vote provides enough oversight without being overly burdensome. It is an interesting dichotomy to the previous vote. So, what's the story here? Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated had its annual shareholder meeting, and the results show a clear preference for certain directors and a strong endorsement of their auditor. However, the executive compensation vote raises some questions. While most shareholders approved, a substantial minority did not. And then they voted to have this advisory vote much less frequently. This could be a sign that shareholders are somewhat satisfied but want to keep a closer eye on things, or it could indicate a disconnect between what shareholders feel is fair compensation and what the board is approving. Looking at the bigger picture, for a company like Neuphoria Therapeutics, which is likely in the biotechnology or pharmaceutical space given the name, shareholder confidence is paramount, especially when it comes to leadership and financial oversight. The election of directors and ratification of the auditor are usually routine. But the say on pay result is a signal to the board that they need to be mindful of shareholder perceptions around executive compensation. They have a mandate from the majority on pay in director elections, but the dissenting votes on compensation are a real point of debate that the board should address. The vote on frequency is also quite telling, suggesting a desire for less frequent, perhaps more strategic engagement on this specific issue. In conclusion, Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated seems to have a stable board and trusted auditors. But there is a brewing conversation around executive pay that shareholders are keeping a watchful eye on, even if they want to discuss it less frequently. It will be interesting to see how the company responds to the negative sentiment on executive compensation, especially considering they voted for less frequent advisory votes on the matter. That is our breakdown of Neuphoria Therapeutics Incorporated's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps us out. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into corporate filings. And hey, join our Discord community in the description to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you next time.